Hi, I'm Michael Senoff, founder and CEO of HardToFindSeminars.com. For the last 5 years, I've interviewed the world's best business and marketing minds. Now my challenge is to build the world's largest free resource for online, downloadable audio business interviews. I've learned a lot in the last 5 years, and today I'm going to show you the skills you need to survive.
If you could pick one direct mail campaign that you're most proud of and that was the most exciting, what would it be? What sticks out in your mind?
The most successful campaign I ever had. Hello, this is Herschell.
Hi, Herschel. This is Michael Senoff. We've been emailing the last couple.
Indeed, and now we're phone pals.
How are you?
Good, good.
Good. It's nice to talk to you. Can I start from the beginning?
Certainly.
Let me ask you this. First of all, what, in a nutshell, how have you become to where you are to have written this many books, and mostly, I assume, are all specifically on writing or copywriting?
Well, or various facets of what I call force communication.
And I want you to start from when you were a kid. Where were you born?
I was born in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I moved to Chicago. My father died when I was very young.
How old?
I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years later, my mother moved us to Chicago, where I grew up, really, and I went to school at Northwestern for years and years.
Okay.
We moved to Florida 23 years ago from Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had 2 goals in life. One was one day to own a piece of property with a palm tree on it.
Right.
Which you couldn't do in Minneapolis.
Right.
And the other was to get away from that fur coat syndrome.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you moved from Chicago?
When I moved from Chicago, you mean to Minneapolis?
Yeah.
I was in my 40s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we had my wife Margot and I had a very good marketing account then in Minneapolis. It was called Calhoun's Collectors Society.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really a full-time proposition for us. And we were really rocketing along with Calhoun, right? We both had a background working with the Bradford Exchange in Chicago.
But you were in Chicago till you were about 40.
Yes.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 73.
Okay. My dad is from Chicago. He's about the same age. What high school did you go to?
Penn High School, which I'm told now has fallen on evil times.
Uh-huh.
But many neighborhoods have.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to that's a long, long time ago.
Right.
I can still envision the image of the building itself.
Yeah, my dad grew up in Lincoln Park, or was it Lincolnwood?
Well, there are 2 things. Lincoln Park is within the city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Lincolnwood is northwest.
Yeah, I think it was Lincolnwood.
Lincolnwood is where one of my publishers was until they sold the thing to McGraw-Hill. That's where National Textile Company was.
Uh-huh.
In this era of consolidation, no companies tend to exist for very long.
Right.
I'll complete the history with some of that, too.
What were you doing all those years in Chicago?
Well, I had an advertising agency, which was called Lewis, Nelson & Kahn. I was also in the motion picture business.
When did you start your ad agency?
I started the ad agency in the middle 1950s, I believe.
And how'd you get into that? What led you to that?
I was a school teacher. I taught English and the humanities at Mississippi State.
Okay.
There's a point in many people's careers, especially when you're young and full of hope and dream, that you believe the only civilized job is in academia.
Right.
To some extent, that's true, and there's a definite benefit in teaching things such as English literature in the Victorian era, because Robert Browning is not about to write any new poetry, so one set of lecture notes can last you a lifetime.
Yes.
That is the benefit of it. Mm-hmm. The detriment is that even though the teachers are not abused, as you often will see in the press,
right,
you don't work a lot of hours, and the only nasty aspect is grading papers.
Yeah. And you can get an assistant to do that.
Everywhere. Mm-hmm. But it's really, if you have any kind of ambition of changing the course of human history, it's a dead end.
Right.
And so I will cut through some of the fatty tissue that got me into that, but I wound up eventually on in a radio station in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, where I was on the air from 6 to 9 in the morning and sold time the rest of the day, and I hated it from the day I got there. So I wound up immediately answering ads. At the time then, I was in the broadcasting business.
And how old were you?
Oh, I was in my late 20s.
And this was after you were teaching?
This was immediately after I was teaching.
Okay, so you got out of teaching.
I got out of teaching accidentally. Well, I had been offered a job, and by the time I had to resign my position. You can't just quit on the college level with the semester. By the time the semester had run out, the fellow who had offered me the job was out of business.
Okay.
Nasty blow. One of a number of midlife crises, although that was well before midlife.
Were you married then?
I was married then, yeah.
You have kids?
Not then.
Okay. All right, so you kind of introduced to advertising because you were working for a radio station and you were selling advertising space.
I was selling at time all afternoon, yes.
Was that your first major sales job?
That was when I was in school, I was selling encyclopedias door to door.
Okay.
At that time, Sears and Roebuck had a thing they called, I think, the Americana Encyclopedia.
Sure.
And I was out in the evenings selling encyclopedias. You talk about a brutal job. And the one thing I learned from that, which I've since decided to implement absolutely in telemarketing scripts that I write, no ad-libbing.
Right.
Death and destruction, assuming that the original script is written by professionals, which Sears was.
Right.
And I learned with a lot of scar tissue that varying from that script always led to disaster.
Right. How long did you sell encyclopedias?
Oh, about a year.
How'd you do? Were you good?
I was not good. I wasn't terrible. I sold encyclopedias, but I wasn't on their top 10 list.
Okay. But I'm sure it was probably a pivotal experience in your life, that direct sales.
In a sense, because it is an introduction to not just the world of salesmanship, but to the world of one-to-one salesmanship where resistance is a factor.
Right.
Whether that resistance is overt or passive, you learn a great deal. And I know a lot of people in the direct marketing business, for example, who are not out in the marketplace getting their hands dirty with the gutty aspect of saying, hey, these aren't just numbers out there. These are people, and we have to establish rapport with these people. That's one of my favorite words in marketing. Because without that, and now that the Internet has become such a major factor, without rapport, you're wasting an awful lot of money.
Right. What got you out of selling encyclopedia? Why'd you quit?
Because I graduated.
Okay.
No, there was nothing nasty about it.
Yeah.
And it didn't really, I didn't like being out at night when I could be watching Captain Video or whatever some of these early TV shows were. But it gave me eating money. I was not affluent in those days.
Okay.
As a starving student, I was lucky the GI, I was in the Army for a little while, and the GI Bill paid for my graduate degree. I was also a graduate assistant at Northwestern, which helped. Okay. But from Coatesville, I got a job as assistant manager of a radio station in Racine, Wisconsin. And I was at that station for 2 weeks, and the manager quit. And they made me manager of the station. And suddenly, as though a switch were turned on, I was an executive. Right. With being invited, with invitations to be on committees and to expound on the glory and value of what I had to offer. What kind of radio station was it? It was a daytime-only station, WRAC, and the problem with WRAC, as nice as it was the other station in Racine, there were two, was owned, WRJN, was owned by the newspaper.
Hi, it's Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini-seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at hardtofindseminars.com. So go right now to hardtofindseminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to hardtofindseminars.com. Thanks for watching.